And I'm teaching EN 455, which is an advanced studies and writing class. I used to teach mostly freshmen, so this is an exciting venture for me because my class is entirely seniors. The impetus for the class was to find something unconventional that was different than the normal, traditional writing class in college, so that students were doing something. They were learning the same skills that they need to learn, that they need to know as they are seniors and are leaving the university and going out into the real world. So I'm looking at this course as sort of a bridge for them, a transition point, where they're doing something that's more personalized. And what I decided on was to let them recover a lost relative in their own families, and they have the choice of who they recover. But they're doing research right now in Ancestry.com to locate a relative who was alive during the Great Depression, about whom they know absolutely nothing. And they're going to, over the course of the semester, do all kinds of unconventional but real-life research in order to recover the events and the details of that person's life. And in the end, they're going to be writing traditional papers and some unconventional papers, some multimodal papers that will reveal to the world who this lost person was. So there's the problem that they have to solve, is to recapture a lost relative. They're going to be doing a couple of things with real-life audiences. They're going to be working with the Hoole Special Collections to annotate, do annotated bibliographies for some of the uncatalogued sources there that the Hoole will then be added. So this is writing, and this is polished writing that students are going to be contributing to the Hoole Library to use for their collections from now on, so that they'll have written annotations for materials in their collections, which we get to use. Yay. So, and the other thing they're going to be doing is creating a website with an integrated Google map, and they're going to plot on the map the locations of their lost people, and these are linkable points, so that when anyone who looks at the website clicks on the person's point on the map, all the students' writing will come up about that person. And they're going to showcase this digital map at a digital humanities brown bag luncheon for faculty in spring. So that's sort of they have real life audiences, and so there's a real incentive not only for them to do the research and know what they're talking about, but also to polish their writing, and that's what's supposed to happen in EN 455. So the most important student outcomes I've highlighted here in the list of all of my student outcomes. Of course, this is a writing class, and so we're working largely with writing and polishing their writing and helping them figure out different ways to write effectively for different audiences. But the outcomes that are largely based on experiential learning deal with audience awareness, being able to figure out who their audiences are and what kind of vocabulary level, what kind of writing style, how much or how little sophistication they need to include in order for that audience to best understand. We're starting, for instance, this semester, our first writing assignment is for the students to work together in groups to analyze a children's book that's written about the Great Depression. And this is a way that they can quickly learn and come up to speed about historical facts related to the Great Depression by learning it from a children's book designed to teach children about the Great Depression. But they're also going to be analyzing what it is about the language, the way that book was written, that is different from the way it might be written in a history book, a college history book. So we're going to start talking about audience awareness, and all the way through the semester, they will become aware of real-life audiences as real-life audiences for how they best project whatever message it is that they need to project. I also hope, and I saw this yesterday when I met with my students for the first time, that that this course will help them to become engaged in the idea of research and how to do it. And I was really heartened yesterday when, at the end of class, several of the students stayed after class and said this sounds so much fun. I have always wanted to learn how to do genealogy research, but I've been so busy with my college studies that I haven't taken the time to do this. I'm going to have so much fun learning how to write in this class. And so that told me that just yesterday's class had engaged their intellectual curiosity, and I hope that there will be purposeful engagement, because they're definitely going to be doing a lot of critical thinking. We talked about this yesterday in class, having to make judgments about just even using Ancestry.com, the things that they're finding there, is that their relative or not? How would they know that? So there's an awful lot of problem solving that's going to be involved in this. And the last thing is collaboration. There's going to be, most of the work that they do is going to be collaborative. They're going to work together in teams to help each other with their research and to do their presentations. So there will be a lot of negotiation about language, a lot of discussions about how do we do this presentation, how best to write this. So everything in the class just about is going to be done with collaborative means. Okay. So how does this help with problem-solving skills? I started, this is from my syllabus, this is language from my syllabus, and I started out with them, with this question of what happens when we lose people. What happens to us, and maybe we aren't even aware that it happens, when we don't know where we come from, when there are gaps in our knowledge about ourselves and our histories. And how do we recover those stories? So those kinds of things, what happens to a community, what's diminished when we don't know who our people are, what our stories are. These are, I said, the guiding questions for the class this spring, and the students, as I said, are going to be working with Ancestry.com and the library archives to recover their own family stories, to understand how those stories fit into the larger context of the nation's history, and how to craft and share those stories with real audiences. So, next slide. Thank you. And the connections between ELO, I've covered this already. We're going to be doing a lot of peer feedback, peer reviews on their writing, and a lot of revision, probably more revision than I've ever worked with students. They're going to be revising constantly and polishing, because they do have a real life audience to present this information to in several different ways, written and oral and digital. So it's truly a multimodal project. They're going to be presenting their project in progress at the Digital Humanities Brown Bag Lunch for the faculty, which will also allow for faculty feedback before their project is complete, so they can have another source of feedback on how to improve their project. And also, again, collaborative projects, including collaborative grading. I've included rubrics and peer feedback sheets that will work to feed together to help grade. So we're not only going to be working together to improve our writing, but they're also going to have a voice in how that work is graded. And my biggest challenge has been that this project is entirely organic. I went to a meeting on Thursday morning before I met my first class. I went to a meeting with the digital humanities people, and they said, so, the map that we're going to embed, map of Alabama, map of the United States, how many states do you need, what is the map going to look like? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know who my students are yet. I haven't met them. I can tell you on January 30th, after they've picked, and I don't know where their ancestors are from, right? I can tell you on January 30th, when they've picked their ancestor, where they live. But this is organic. So I got to class yesterday, and I have about half the classes from Alabama, but I also have a student from Georgia who's planning to do research on a relative in South Carolina, and I have a student from Hawaii. So, and I don't know where her people will wind up being from. So, so it's organic. The student research really is driving the bus on this class, and I don't know what they're going to find. This is all a mystery. So, I'm a planner. I like to have things lined up, and I'm flying by the seat of my pants on this one. So, So it's going to be, the student research is totally going to determine the scope of the map. It's totally going to guide the course readings, because I don't know the history of which region of the country they're going to need to read, and they're going to have to help with that. So it was really, really hard for me to order textbooks. I didn't know what they were going to need. Student interest is going to shape the research, and student choices are ultimately going to help guide the final product. So it's really going to be, not only the students are going to collaborate, but it's a collaborative effort between the students and myself to put the whole course together. Thank you. Questions?